They say lightning never strikes twice in the same place. But heartbreak? Heartbreak has a way of finding you exactly where you thought you were safe. My name is Elena. I am 36 years old. And this is the story of how I went from being the family outcast to becoming everything I never knew I wanted to be. It started with a choice that shattered every expectation my family had ever placed on my shoulders. I decided I did not want children. Not because I despised them. Not because I feared them. But because I loved my life exactly as it was. I loved waking up on Saturday mornings to absolute silence. I loved traveling to Paris on a whim. I loved my career as a graphic designer, staying up until 3 in the morning perfecting a project that set my soul on fire. I loved reading entire novels in one sitting without interruption. I loved my small apartment with white walls and breakable things positioned exactly where I wanted them. But most of all, I loved the completeness I felt in my own skin. I was whole. I was enough. I was happy. The world, however, had other plans for my happiness. Every family gathering became a battlefield. Every holiday dinner turned into an interrogation. Aunts would corner me in kitchens, asking when I would settle down and start a real family. Uncles would joke about my biological clock ticking. Grandparents would sigh dramatically and wonder aloud who would take care of me when I was old. But the cruelest voice in this chorus of judgment belonged to my cousin Sabrina. Sabrina was 2 years younger than me. But she carried herself like she had unlocked the greatest secret of the universe. She had her first baby at 21, and from that moment forward, she appointed herself as the spokesperson for real womanhood. At every family gathering, she would find me, like a heat-seeking missile programmed to destroy my peace of mind. "Elena, honey," she would say, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "You know you are missing out on the greatest joy a woman can experience, right?" I would smile politely and change the subject. "I mean, you can pretend to be fulfilled all you want," she would continue. "But you will never truly understand love until you hear your baby call you mommy for the first time." My jaw would clench, but I would remain silent. "And honestly," she would add, delivering the final blow with surgical precision, "you cannot be a real woman without giving life. That is what we were made for. Everything else is just playing pretend." The room would go quiet. Everyone would stare at their plates. And I would excuse myself to the bathroom, where I would grip the sink and remind myself that I did not owe anyone my womb. Least of all her. This went on for years. Sabrina would parade her growing family like trophies. Each pregnancy announcement accompanied by pointed looks in my direction. She had 3 children by the time she was 28, and each birth was followed by passive-aggressive comments about my selfishness and emptiness. I learned to arrive late to family events and leave early. I learned to deflect questions with humor. I learned to build walls around my heart so thick that her words could not penetrate them. But I never learned to stop caring. Because despite everything, I loved those children. I loved Sabrina's oldest daughter, Maya, with her wild curls and infectious giggle. I loved watching her discover the world, asking a million questions about everything from butterflies to why the sky was blue. I loved buying her books and watching her eyes light up when I read to her in funny voices. Maya was 4 years old when everything changed. It was a Tuesday in October when Sabrina called our Aunt Ruth, saying she had a job interview and needed someone to watch Maya for a few hours. Nothing unusual. Sabrina had been struggling financially since her latest boyfriend left, and she often relied on family for childcare. "I will be back by dinner," she promised. "Just a quick interview downtown." But dinner came and went. So did breakfast the next morning. And lunch. And another dinner. Aunt Ruth called Sabrina's phone over and over, but it went straight to voicemail. She drove to Sabrina's apartment, but the landlord said she had not been home in days. She called every number she could think of, but no one had seen or heard from her. By the 3rd day, panic set in. By the 5th day, Aunt Ruth called Child Protective Services. "I do not know what else to do," she cried to me over the phone. "I am 73 years old. I cannot run after a 4-year-old. My arthritis is getting worse, and I am scared I will not be able to keep her safe." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Not just for Maya, but for the helplessness in my aunt's voice. For the weight of responsibility that had been thrust upon shoulders too frail to carry it. That is when I got the call that changed everything. Elena, the social worker said, her voice professional but kind. We need to place Maya in kinship care while we continue searching for her mother. Your aunt mentioned you might be able to help. Would you be willing to take her in? Just temporarily, until we can locate Sabrina or find a more permanent solution. The words hit me like a physical blow. Me. The woman who had spent years defending her choice to remain child-free? The woman who had been called selfish and incomplete and broken? I started, then stopped. I need to think about it. But even as I said the words, I knew there was no thinking required. There was only love. And Maya needed love more than she needed my carefully constructed life plan. Yes, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Yes, I will take her. Maya arrived on a Thursday afternoon that felt like the end of the world, and the beginning of something I could not yet name. She stood in my doorway clutching a backpack with no zipper, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. Her hair was matted, her clothes were too small, and she smelled like she had not had a proper bath in days. Hi Maya, I said, kneeling down to her level. Do you remember me? I am your cousin Elena. She nodded slowly, her bottom lip trembling. You are going to stay with me for a while, okay? Until we find your mommy. Where is she? Maya whispered, her voice so small it broke my heart. I do not know, sweetheart. But I promise you are safe here. I promise I will take care of you. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no crib, no toys, no idea how to braid hair or make mac and cheese from a box. I had never changed a diaper or negotiated with a tantruming toddler, or sung lullabies. But I had something else. I had arms that could hold her. I had a heart that could love her. And I had a determination that surprised even me. That first night, Maya cried herself to sleep in my bed while I sat beside her, stroking her hair and whispering that everything would be okay. I did not sleep at all. I just watched her tiny chest rise and fall, marveling at how something so small could completely reorganize my entire existence. The next morning, I found a drawing on my kitchen table. It was a stick figure holding hands with a smaller stick figure. At the bottom, in wobbly 4-year-old handwriting, it said, "Me and Mom." I stared at that drawing for a long time, tears streaming down my face, because I realized that while I had been busy defending my choice not to have children, life had been quietly preparing me for this moment. All those years of loving Maya from a distance, all those bedtime stories and silly voices, all that love I had been storing up without even knowing it. The days that followed were a blur of bureaucracy and heartbreak. Social workers visited. Police officers asked questions. Missing person reports were filed. And through it all, Maya and I learned how to be a family. I enrolled her in preschool and learned how to pack lunch boxes with notes that said, "Have a great day, princess." I figured out how to braid her wild curls and bought every hair tie in the store. I discovered that she loved pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, and that she was afraid of the dark, but brave enough to sleep with just a nightlight. I taught her how to swim in the community pool, holding her tiny body as she kicked her legs and laughed with pure joy. I showed her how to plant flowers in pots on my balcony, watching her eyes widen with wonder as she learned that seeds could become something beautiful with enough love and patience. Most importantly, I taught her that she was worth staying for, that she was worth changing everything for, that she was worth love, period. Weeks turned into months. Still no word from Sabrina. The police had leads that went nowhere. Social services had questions but no answers. And Maya began to bloom like a flower that had finally found the right soil. She started calling me Lenny because Elena was too hard to say. Then it became Mama Lenny, when she was feeling especially affectionate. And finally, one day at the grocery store, she tugged on my sleeve and said, "Mama, can we get ice cream?" The woman in line behind us smiled and said, "Your daughter is adorable." And I did not correct her, because somewhere along the way, without biology or birthing or any of the traditional markers of motherhood, I had become exactly that. A mother. Not because I had given birth, but because I had chosen to stay, because I had chosen to love, because I had chosen her. The court hearings were a nightmare of legal jargon and emotional testimony. I applied for kinship care, which meant I could officially become Maya's guardian while they continued searching for Sabrina. It meant stability for Maya. It meant security. It meant that for the first time in her young life, she could count on someone not disappearing. But it also meant that I had to face the truth I had been avoiding. I was no longer the child-free woman I had once been. I was a mother. And I was good at it. Maya thrived in ways that took my breath away. She learned to read before she turned 5. She made friends at school who came over for playdates. She drew pictures of our little family and hung them on the refrigerator like any other kid. She learned to trust that when I said I would pick her up from school, I would be there. That when I said I loved her, I meant it. That when I said I would never leave her, it was a promise I intended to keep. And then 1 year and 4 months after she had disappeared, Sabrina came back. I was making dinner when I heard the knock. Maya was in the living room, building a fort out of couch cushions and singing to herself. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening in our extraordinary life. I opened the door and there she was. Sabrina. Thin in a way that spoke of missed meals and poor choices. Her eyes were sunken, her skin pale, her hair limp. But it was her expression that stopped me cold. The entitled expectation. The assumption that she could simply waltz back into our lives and reclaim what she had abandoned. I am here for Maya, she said, like she was picking up dry cleaning. Sabrina. My voice was steady, but my heart was racing. Where have you been? That does not matter now. I am back. I am ready to take her. Ready. As if readiness was something you could just decide to have after leaving your child with virtual strangers for over a year. Maya. I called softly. Someone is here to see you. She came running, her face bright with curiosity. But when she saw Sabrina, she stopped dead in her tracks. Her smile faded. Her small body moved closer to mine. Hi, baby, Sabrina said, her voice artificially bright. Mommy is back. Are you ready to come home? Maya looked up at me with eyes that held more wisdom than any 5-year-old should have. Then she looked back at Sabrina. I do not want to go with that lady, she whispered. That lady. Not Mom. Not Mommy. Not even Sabrina. Just that lady. I watched Sabrina's face crumble. I watched her realize that in her absence, she had become a stranger to her own child. That love is not a switch you can turn on and off. That motherhood is not a title you can abandon and reclaim at will. Maya, sweetie, Sabrina tried again, kneeling down. I am your mom. Remember? I used to read you stories and… Mama Lenny reads me stories, Maya interrupted, her small hand finding mine. She makes funny voices and she does not leave. The words hung in the air like a verdict. I could have gloated. I could have rubbed salt in the wound. I could have reminded Sabrina of all the times she had called me incomplete, selfish, broken. All the times she had insisted that I could never understand real love, because I had never given birth. Instead, I stepped aside and let her see what her daughter had become in her absence. Maya was confident now, joyful, safe, loved in a way that showed in every movement, every smile, every fearless leap into my arms. She was thriving not because she had been forgotten, but because she had been chosen. Every single day. We can set up supervised visits, I said quietly. I would never try to erase you from her life. You are her biological mother, and that matters. But I will not hand her over to someone who treated her like an inconvenience. She deserves better than that. Sabrina's eyes filled with tears. She is my daughter. No, I said, my voice gentle but firm. She is your child. But I am her mother. There is a difference. And then I said the thing that had been building in my chest for years. The thing that came out not as a weapon, but as a simple truth. You told me I could never be a real woman because I did not give birth. You said I would never understand love until I heard my baby call me mommy. Turns out I did not have to give birth. She chose me anyway. And I chose her back. That is what real love looks like. Sabrina left that night without another word. But she came back the next week. And the week after that. Slowly, carefully, we began to build something new. Not the family we had planned, but the family we had become. Maya saw Sabrina for supervised visits twice a week. She called her Sabrina now, not Mom. It was hard for everyone, but it was honest. And honestly, it was what Maya needed. As the months passed, I made another decision that would have shocked the old Elena. I decided to adopt again. Not because I felt incomplete. Not because society expected it. But because I had learned something profound about love. It multiplies. It does not divide. And there were other children out there who needed what I had discovered I could give. Her name was Sophia. She was 6 months old when she came to me through the foster system. Abandoned at the hospital. Born to a mother who could not care for her. She was tiny and perfect and absolutely mine from the moment I held her. Maya was ecstatic. She helped me feed Sophia bottles and sang lullabies in her wobbly 5-year-old voice. She drew pictures of our family that now included 3 stick figures. Me, her, and baby Sophia. We are a real family now, she told me one day. And I realized she was right. We were. Not because of biology or traditional definitions, but because of choice. Because of love. Because of the decision to stay when staying was hard and to love when love was scary. Today, Maya is 7 years old. She calls me Mom in public and Mama Lenny when she is feeling silly. She is in 2nd grade and reads at a 4th grade level. She has friends and hobbies and dreams of becoming a veterinarian because she loves animals. She is confident and joyful and secure in the knowledge that she is loved unconditionally. Sophia is 18 months old now. She has Maya's curls and my stubbornness and the sweetest laugh I have ever heard. She calls me Mama and Maya Sissy, and thinks the world revolves around the 2 of us. Which, in our little corner of the universe, it does. Sabrina still sees Maya twice a week. She is clean now, working a steady job, trying to rebuild her life. She will never be Maya's mother in the way that matters most, but she is finding her own way to love her daughter. And that is enough. As for me, I am no longer the child-free woman I once was. But I am not a different person either. I am simply the fullest version of myself. The version that was always there, waiting for the right moment to emerge. People ask me sometimes how I went from being adamantly child-free to being a mother of 2. They want to know if I regret my earlier choices. If I wish I had started sooner. If I feel like I was lying to myself all those years. And I tell them the truth. I was never really child-free. I was just waiting for the right children to find me. Because motherhood is not about biology. It is not about pregnancy or childbirth or genetic connections. It is about showing up. Every day. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. It is about choosing love over convenience. About choosing sacrifice over selfishness. About choosing to stay when every instinct tells you to run. It is about becoming someone you never knew you could be because someone else needed you to be exactly that. Maya still keeps that first drawing she made, the one of the stick figures holding hands. But now it sits in a frame on her bedroom wall, surrounded by dozens of other drawings that tell the story of how we became a family. How love found us when we least expected it. How choosing each other saved us all. And when people ask me why a child-free woman now has 2 children, I just smile and say, because love does not ask how you got here. It just asks, will you stay? And I did. I stayed. Through sleepless nights and tantrums and first days of school and scraped knees and bedtime stories and all the beautiful, terrifying, wonderful moments that make up a life. I stayed through the fear that I was not enough. Through the doubt that I could do this. Through the moments when I questioned everything I thought I knew about myself. I stayed because love asked me to. Because Maya needed me to. Because Sophia needed me to. Because I needed me to. And that made all the difference. Not just for them, but for me. Because in becoming their mother, I discovered who I was meant to be all along. Not the woman who could not have children, but the woman who was waiting for the right children to choose her. The woman who learned that sometimes the most beautiful families are not born, but built. Not planned, but found. Not expected, but chosen. The woman who learned that love is not about biology. It is about biology. It is about showing up. It is about staying. It is about choosing each other, again and again, until choosing becomes as natural as breathing. And in the end, that is what family really is. Not the people you share DNA with, but the people you choose to love. The people who choose to love you back. The people who stay when staying is hard and love when love is scary and choose each other every single day. That is what Maya taught me. That is what Sophia taught me. That is what love taught me. And I am grateful for every single lesson. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories of love, family, and the unexpected ways our lives can change. Your support helps us share these important stories with the world. Thank you for being part of our community.